Welcome, everybody. It's been a long time, but it's 5 minutes or less, and we have an anticipated record for all of you today. That's right, one of the most talked about albums that was going to come out in the beginning of 2026 was always the self titled Megadeth record. Whether for good or for bad, a lot of people were talking about it because this, according to Dave Mustaine, is their final effort. So, what did I think of the self titled album? Well, let's get one of the things out of the way, and that's everybody's wondering is how was the Ride the Lightning cover? All I'm going to say is the music was good, but James Hetfield is a better vocalist, in my opinion. They didn't really do anything different with the song. I was expecting something different, maybe a little faster, I don't know, but it just sounds a carbon copy of the original version, which whatever, be as it may. The rest of the album was interesting because it had a very Marty Friedman era-esque kind of sound to it in a lot of the tracks, which I've got no problem with, especially with who he's teamed up with from this album. One of my standouts of this record is definitely James Lomenzo. He is such an amazing bass player. He definitely shines on this record. And everybody pretty much shines on this record musically. They were top notch. They were on target. Very tight. Great sound. Some of my favorite tracks, Let There Be Shred. Such an amazing song. I think Puppet Parade is great. Tipping Point, which is one of the singles everybody's heard. I thought that was also a very, very fantastic track. But the rest of the album, and I also loved the last, it's called The Last Note, right? It's sort of his, goodbye, right? It's got the kind of, I don't want to say flamenco, but a very acoustic guitar, sort of like what Friedman did on Holy Wars. You hear it in this song, for sure. But ultimately, it's kind of a sad song, but very fitting for a last track on the album because it's his final goodbye, saying his piece as he moves on. Let There Be Shred had a very Rust in Peace almost kind of sound to it, which is why I thought that was such an amazing, amazing track. I definitely think it's an album that's worth listening to, right? If you got Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, however you listen to your albums, I think it's definitely worth a listen. There's no bad songs on this album. I've been doing this thing where I've been reviewing an album and I grade each track, and honestly, none of the tracks fell below a 4. I do a 4 out of 5 star system, as you'll learn, and none of the tracks fell below that. So, meaning there is no bad track on this album, just some are better than others, obviously. But I gave you my favorites. I just think Ride the Lightning just wasn't worth all this time to wait. I mean, because as soon as they released the idea that they were going to do the track Ride the Lightning, which David Ellefson was against years ago, I was like, oh, I've got to hear what this is going to sound like, because even I'm curious, right? I want to know. How is Dave going to interpret this song? Just kind of a letdown, a little bit. Just a little bit. The music is great. The whole band was tight. Just think you can't replace James Hetfield's vocals on that track at all. But anyways, enough of that. Again, like I said, go and pick up the album. I'm going to give it, I gave it 4.25 stars out of 5 for a final grade. You heard it here. Check it out. 5 minutes or less.